A major U.S. cruise line is asking all of their passengers to upload their COVID-19 vaccination record cards before they get to the cruise terminal. But there's a twist to it. They are now turning around and validating all of the cards individually. What does this mean for you on your next cruise? Well, as we're getting further and further along in the cruise restart, occupancy on board cruise ships is on the rise. And with a new month comes cruise ship restarts. There are several to report on in today's episode. Royal Caribbean is building a brand new ship, the Icon of the Seas, and we all know they're famous for their mega ships. Virgin Voyages, which was supposed to be operating over a year ago out of U.S. waters, has just last month finally started resuming sailings out of Miami, and now there's even more good news for the company as their second ship, the Valiant Lady, has received a fresh coat of paint. We're going to give you a little sneak peek at the brand new paint job aboard Valiant Lady. All this coming up on Midships. Hey, welcome to the Midships YouTube channel. I'm your Captain Corey. Thank you so much for stopping by the channel today. Well, we don't have a minute to waste as there's so much cruise news to hop into. So I'm going to show you a feel-good story coming out of Carnival Cruise Line about one of their oldest cruise ships finally receiving the brand new livery, the red, white, and blue. From cruisehive.com by Emra Stacker. The first fantasy class Carnival cruise ship has received her new paint job. The Carnival Paradise becomes the first fantasy class cruise ship to receive the new red, white, and blue livery hull design during her dry dock, and the 8th in the Carnival fleet overall. The vessel is now all shiny and fresh, ready to welcome back guests on board in the spring of 2022. Carnival Cruise Line is now well underway with its fleet-wide rollout of the new red, white, and blue livery. We'll take a look at a tweet by Frank Marble. She is built in 1998 and her length is just 262 meters. Carnival Paradise is operated by a crew of 980 and the number of passengers can vary from 2,000 to 2,400. So in addition to the new livery on board her hull, the Paradise received some routine maintenance throughout the hotel. This can be anything from new tile floors, new carpeting, new paint. Not a huge redo to the vessel, but just a little bit to sprucing her up. So let's keep talking about Carnival Cruise Line as we have some restart news to report on. From cruisehive.com by Emra Stacker, a second Carnival cruise ship resumes operations from the port of New Orleans. Carnival Cruise Line already has more than half their fleet back to sailing, which increases even more now with Carnival Valor becoming the second ship to restart operations out of New Orleans, Louisiana. Valor becomes the 15th ship in the fleet to be sailing since the suspension first began back in March of 2020. The vessel also becomes the second to operate out of the port of New Orleans. Guests are being welcomed back on board today by the cruise director, Marty Pitts, along with countless happy crew members who are bringing back the fun. And before we pop over to our next restart story, I want you to take a look at the new hull livery aboard Carnival Valor, just like we reported previously for Carnival Paradise. Now let's stick inside the Carnival family with a look at Princess Cruise Lines and their restart plan. From cruisehive.com by Melissa Mayan. 4th Princess cruise ship restarts operations out of the US. And this is a major restart because this is a ship that you heard all about back in March of 2020. Princess Cruises is now well underway with multiple vessels back to sailing in the US, including the Ruby Princess, which restarted over this weekend. The ship becomes the 4th Princess vessel to resume operations out of a U.S. port. Ruby Princess set sail October 31st from her home port of San Francisco after a special ceremony to welcome guests back on board the Medallion-class vessel. After sailing under the Golden Gate Bridge, the ship is heading for a 7-night California coast itinerary. Well, I just love being able to bring you all of this positive restart news coming out of U.S. cruise ports. Now, I have even more good news coming from Virgin Voyages. They have a brand new ship on the way, a sister ship to the Scarlet Lady, and she'll be named the Valiant Lady. And I'd like you to take a look at her brand new livery on her hull. From cruiseindustrynews.com, new Virgin Voyage cruise ship gets her colors. And we have the fantastic Valiant Lady motif painted on the side. The Valiant Lady now has her colors as the final touches are being put onto the hull of the second cruise ship for Virgin Voyages in Sicily. Delivered earlier this year to the startup cruise line Virgin Voyages, the 2,770 guest ship is expected to begin sailings in early 2022. Valiant Lady will officially mark her debut in the UK before heading to Barcelona to sail in the Mediterranean during the summer. Well, congratulations to Virgin Voyages. I'm not sure about you, but I would love to take a Mediterranean itinerary aboard the beautiful new Valiant Lady. If you've ever sailed in the Med, why don't you go ahead and comment down below what your thoughts are, your experiences, and what your favorite port of call was. I'd love to hear about it. While you're down there commenting, why don't you go ahead and look in the description box of this video. There are some fantastic Amazon affiliate links that'll point you to some totally cool and very useful cruise swag for your next cruise. And even clicking on the link does benefit the channel just a little bit. So speaking of new cruise ships, Royal Caribbean is cooking up something very special, the Icon of the Seas. Let's learn a little bit more about what they're building. From cruisehive.com by Emrys Thacker, Royal Caribbean releases an update on the construction of Icon of the Seas. Royal Caribbean released an update on the much anticipated Icon of the Seas cruise ship. The ship will be the cruise line's first vessel powered by liquefied natural gas, and the complex construction is taking place at the Meyer Werft shipyard. So now we know the first liquefied natural gas powered Royal Caribbean ship is coming, and construction began in June of this year. There's still a ways to go until completion in 2023, but for now, this is what's happening. With the ship being the first in the fleet powered by LNG, the cruise line released a new video showcasing the first tank installation at the shipyards in Germany. The first tank alone weighs a staggering 307 tons, is 90 feet long, and 26 feet tall. The tank was lowered into one of the sections that will become one block of many, making up the entire cruise ship. When construction is completed on Icon, she will be nearly 200,000 gross tons, making her one of the largest cruise ships in the world, but not quite as large as the Oasis-class vessels. So if you're wondering when you might be able to hop on board Icon of the Seas, she will debut in fall of 2023, so mark your calendars. Now, since we're talking about Royal Caribbean, they are known for having these gigantic mega ships, these Oasis-class vessels that are just the biggest thing in the whole port. But with all this extra size comes extra people, and that means extra concerns for ports of call. And some are going as far as even banning megaships from stopping at their port altogether. Let's learn a little bit more about what's going on from MSN.com. By Scott Laird. As more ports ban mega cruise ships, what is the future of the world's largest vessels? More than 1/3 of Tahiti's visitors are cruise passengers, but next year they won't be arriving on some of the industry's largest megaships. In late September, the French Polynesian government announced that cruise ships with a capacity greater than 3,500 passengers will be banned from making port calls in the country, beginning January 1st, 2022. Ships with a capacity of more than 2,500 will be limited to calls at Tahiti and 2 other ports with sufficient infrastructure to accommodate them. Bora Bora, the country's top tourist draw, will further limit daily cruise passengers to just 1,200, effectively barring most large cruise ships from docking there. The country's leaders are concerned that large cruise ships would not only tax local infrastructure, but also impact the experience for non-cruise visitors. Local officials on Bora Bora had requested the limits back in 2019 to preserve the beauty of its lagoon as well as the quality of service which has made it famous. In addition to the Cayman Islands is of course Venice, who has fought over tourism for years now. So what does this mean for travelers, both cruisers and non? The mega cruise ships' range of amenities and accommodations have their own draws. But how might cruise itineraries look if more cruise ports say enough is enough to the largest ships? For now, the bans won't change much. The destinations that have set bans aren't seeing that many large cruise ships. So that's an interesting story. I would love to hear your opinion down in the comments below. Have you ever sailed on board one of these Oasis-class mega ships, one of these giant world's largest cruise ships? I'd love to hear about your experience and if you think they belong at these smaller ports or if those ports should be reserved for a cruise ship that's just a little bit smaller. So over the past couple of months, with all the articles I've read about cruising and vaccinations and symptoms and boarding requirements, I've come across a common theme, and that is passengers aren't always completely honest with the cruise lines. And I'd like to give you an example and then focus on Royal Caribbean, who is now going to actually validate whether or not your vaccine card is actually authentic. So first, I'll support my claims here by looking at a portion of an article by Orlando Martinez of cruiseradio.net. Passengers are lying about their symptoms. The CDC reports instances of passengers who had COVID-19 symptoms at the time of their embarkation, or they became symptomatic during their cruise, and they did not immediately report their symptoms to the onboard medical center on their ship. This resulted in extensive contact tracing due to the presumed length of time since the first onset of infection and the large number of people they could have come in contact with on the ships. The CDC cites a passenger on cruise ship F who was fully vaccinated and tested negative for COVID 3 days prior to boarding, but was symptomatic at embarkation. The passenger denied having symptoms when boarding the ship and later died of illness related to COVID 3 days later. This is the only COVID-related death cited by the CDC in the conditional sailing order extension. And so with that in mind, that passengers are willing to say whatever they have to do to get on board these cruise ships, I want to present an article to you from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com by Matt Hochberg about how Royal Caribbean is actually validating COVID-19 vaccination cards. The Royal Caribbean app is getting updates all the time, and some cruisers have noticed a change to the option to upload a photo of your COVID vaccine card. In September of 2021, Royal Caribbean added a new way for passengers to upload a photo of their vaccine card directly into the app to speed up the check-in process at the cruise terminal. The ability to upload a photo is not yet possible on every ship, but is being offered on more and more ships once available. And I would note that I have seen that feature available on at least one of my Royal Caribbean cruises that I'm booked on in the next couple of weeks. When the feature was added back in September, the Royal Caribbean app would immediately move your status to green to indicate you are done. But now cruise fans are noticing it changes to a gray hourglass status instead to indicate that your COVID vaccine card is being validated. And here we have a screenshot from within the app. This is what your upload is going to look like. You upload the front and the back of the card. And then once you go ahead and scroll down a little bit, you can see right here, vaccination. We are validating your record. Very interesting. Royal Caribbean blog reader David Beers reached out to Royal Caribbean to get an idea of what this change means exactly, especially as it relates to checking in for your cruise. Janelle Pagan from Royal Caribbean's executive office indicated the vaccine submission status has been updated so that the cruise line can manually check the validity of the card being uploaded. And we have a quote here. After reviewing your correspondence with our port operations team, they advised they recently developed a new feature in the guest check-in app to include a vaccination submission status. So now the status, we are validating your card, is the normal new status you'll see once you enter your vaccine record during online check-in. Once submitted, it takes us 24 to 48 hours to approve, since we are manually checking the validity of each and every card. Guests will still need to bring their vaccine card with them, but taking the photo at home will allow your embarkation process to move just a little bit faster, since the terminal staff will not have to take time to take photos of everyone's card. And I spent some time down in the comments section of that article, and there was some very interesting feedback going on. A lot of people saying that that 24 to 48 hour window is actually more like 5 to 6 days. Some people saying it's happening almost instantly still. And then yet another commenter said, if they're going through these lengths, then that means people have gotten on board with a fake card, which we knew would happen 8 months ago when they started issuing these cards without some sort of centralized database. So that's honestly really interesting news coming out of Royal Caribbean. I'm wondering if we're going to start seeing this happen across the cruise industry as a whole. Go ahead and leave your thoughts on this issue in the comments below. While you're down there, I'd greatly appreciate it if you subscribe to the Midships channel and gave a big thumbs up on this video if you absolutely love cruising. Thanks so much for stopping by the channel today, and until tomorrow, we'll see you on the Midships.